Alright guys, so here's what I usually focus on whenever I'm about to go kayak fishing. Now for those of you that are more experienced kayak fishermen, this video is probably going to be a little bit boring. But for those of you that are just getting started, this might actually help you out and might help you avoid some of the pitfalls that I ran into when I first started kayak fishing, and it'll help you be a little bit more prepared. Alright, so the very first thing that I want to talk about when you go kayak fishing, probably the most critical thing, is your PFD. They come in a variety of different styles, a bunch of different sizes. This one has a bunch of different pockets on it. I think it was like 20 bucks. It's a Bass Pro brand one here. Like $20. Super cheap. I wear it every single time I go out. I'm an extremely strong swimmer. I feel like I'm a strong kayaker. I feel like I'm a strong fisherman. I wear my PFD every single time. Don't chance it. Don't be a hero. Don't be the cool guy. Make sure that you wear your PFD. It is literally the only thing that is going to save your life if you flip over. You never know. If you flip over and you hit your head on something, you have nothing to pull your butt out of that water unless you got a friend right there with you, and you better hope that they notice. Always wear your PFD. Single most important thing. Next thing that I always make sure that I bring with me whenever I go kayak fishing is, of course, you got your sunblock. It's amazing how burnt you can get. Especially in an open bay like this, your legs, they get absolutely fried. So the single most important thing I would say after the PFD would have to be the sunblock. Otherwise, you're going to get fried out there. So make sure you put that on. Make sure you reapply it. Very, very important. Next important thing is going to be some bug spray. Most of the time, you don't experience any problems with bugs out there, but every once in a while, if you go down one of those little creeks and everything, you're going to experience some big problems with bugs. So make sure you're comfortable. What I do is I like to spray it all over my kayak. I like to spray it on my hat that I wear. I typically just spray it on my gear, all that kind of stuff, and it seems to be perfect. Of course, I spray it on my, my PFD and all that kind of stuff. I just want to make sure that I don't have any bugs bothering me because I want to enjoy my experience. Nothing worse than letting bugs ruin everything for you. All right. Next up, we have our gloves. I don't use these gloves very often. The reason why I have these gloves is just in case. I don't know what I'm going to catch. I happen to be in Florida. I could catch a gator, in which case I would much rather have some gloves on when I'm handling one. I could come across a snake. Again, I'd much rather have gloves on. It might be a false sense of security, but it does make me feel a little bit more confident, and sometimes being confident helps out a ton. Also, you never know what you're going to pull up. You could pull up something really sharp, like a glass bottle. There's all kinds of things that I pulled up while fishing that I did not want to touch with my bare hands. So these gloves, super, super cheap. Ozark Trail, it's Walmart brand and everything, couple bucks. Definitely buy a pair of gloves. Not a big deal. Very easy to carry with you and everything. Doesn't take up much space. Always have some gloves on you. Next thing that I like to have are some wipes. Okay? Now, part of it, of course, could be because you need to go to the bathroom and everything, and that can help save you in an emergency. The other reason I like to have them is because, let's say I get something in my eyeball. I don't want to have to put like slimy fish guts in my eye. I'd much rather wipe my hands off and be clean. Plus, a lot of times I'm out here kayaking for long periods of time. So oftentimes I'm going to need them in order to wipe off my hands so I can eat my sandwich or whatever without getting salmonella poisoning. All right, so probably a good idea. Then there's other things that you might need it for, like if you're trying to clean something up or whatever, but for the most part, it's a good thing to have. It keeps you a little more sanitary and everything. Yeah, I get it. Not the most masculine, manly thing in the world and everything, but, I'm realistic. Let's keep them on there. Might as well be clean while we're at it. It takes up virtually no space. All right. Next, of course, I normally have it on here. I don't have my water bottle. I did not put it in here, but make sure you have water. Make sure you stay hydrated while you're out there. You might want to have a Gatorade, something like that. Always bring more than you think you need. Worst thing is to be out there, get dehydrated, and pass out. Nobody's going to be able to help you if you're passed out. All right. Next up, I recommend wearing a hat. Okay. The reason why I wear a hat is because it's probably the best protection against getting hooked. All right. So it sounds crazy, sounds ridiculous, but if you notice, I got multiple poles going on here. I got hooks that are coming on. I'm reaching behind my back because the worst thing to do is to turn all the way around in your kayak and try to go behind you. That's how you flip over. So you want to get used to reaching behind you to grab your poles. So you should practice maybe ahead of time and all that, but you also don't know where these hooks are going to be. All right. So you could reach behind you, grab that pole, that treble hook hits you in the back of the head. If you had a hat on, now it's hooked into your hat, not your head. So that's one of the reasons why I have it. Another reason I like having the hat, of course, is it protects my face, protects my head from the sun. Again, I live in Florida. It scorches me down here. Sunglasses, another thing, pretty much critical. I shouldn't have to tell you that and everything. I'm assuming most of you that are watching this are grown, so probably a good idea to have that. All right. The next thing that a lot of kayakers forget, and this to me is probably the most important thing if you're fishing, is an anchor. The reason why I like an anchor is because it holds you in place. Another option is you can get a pole. You know, there's things called power poles. They're a little bit more expensive. Or you can literally just get a piece of like rebar or something like that that you can stake into the ground. The thing is you want to make sure that it doesn't permanently hold you there just in case you get into trouble. On this one, I can quickly release this entire rope if I had to and let this anchor go and go back and fetch it later. Some people attach buoys to it for that purpose so they can go back and fetch it, no problem. The reason why you want that is if a current catches you, if you start flipping or turning the wrong way. One time I got held up in the current, I had a huge fish on, and my anchor was caught up on a log. You know, I was stuck in a couple different ways and everything. So my only option was to start releasing my anchor. I fortunately didn't have to release it all the way, but at least I had the option to and everything. It got pretty close where I would have needed to in an emergency. Okay, so definitely a good thing there. Next thing, this is kind of optional. I've never used it really to land a fish, but if you notice, I have a landing net. It's personal preference. I can lip a fish just fine. However, the main reason why I would have the net is if I catch a big fish. In Florida, we have quite a few varieties of fish that I don't particularly want to grab with my hands. And if I do grab them with my hands, I want to have a little bit more control over how I grab them. So landing, for example, you know, some of these catfish, out here we have some of these fish that got some pretty sharp teeth on them, like bow fins. I don't particularly want to grab that straight up with my hand. So if I catch it in the net, I can control how I let it go, how I remove the hooks and all that, just a little bit better. Plus, I can bring the fish into me a little bit easier without it flopping around inside the kayak. Worst thing to do is panic while you're in a kayak, because that's how you're going to flip. All right. So again, stressing PFD, that's definitely a must. The gloves, good idea. Sunblock, definitely. Bug protection, definitely. Hat and all that, definitely good ideas. Okay. Then of course your next step. A lot of people say, well, what kind of tackle do I need? Well, that's up to you. I personally like to have a little bit of variety when I'm doing my tackle. Of course, you want to pack light. You don't want to bring a ton of stuff with you. You don't want to be fumbling around with stuff. Because, again, in kayaks, you need to be very methodical about how you move around. You do not want to flip a kayak. I plan on doing some videos in the future on how you can right yourself and how you can get back into your kayak safely if you do fall out of your kayak. But the best option is to just not let it happen in the first place. All right? So that's the key. Now, a couple things that I have here that you'll notice is I like to use live bait when I'm on the rivers. So when I carry my box, this will actually hold 3 of these boxes. Okay, that's what it's made for. So one box, if you notice here, I got a lot of really small stuff in here. And you're probably thinking to yourself, but you bass fish, why would you want all of that? This right here is my box for the little guys. I call it my confidence box. This is how I catch my bluegill. You can catch some crappie, like panfish basically. The reason why I like it is that first of all, it gives me a confidence boost. All right, you're catching fish, there's nothing easier to catch than a bluegill. And the great thing about a bluegill is you can catch big bass with bluegill. All right, so this gives me the confidence by giving me some fish. So if I have a dead streak, I might throw it out there just to get a bluegill. All right, so it's a fantastic box for that reason, but also gives me some live bait options as well. All right, so if the artificial is not working, I'm going to hit up the live bait. All right, so that's one box. Next box that I have is my artificial worms. Now, some of you guys are going to have a panic attack because you like to keep all of your soft plastics inside their original container. I do as well. I actually prepare this box usually every night before. Maybe I'll keep it for a couple days if I know I'm going to use it a couple days in a row. But for the most part, I do this fresh every single night, and I just put it right back where it goes. So, I'm going to have a variety of things. I'm going to have some curly tail stuff. I'm going to have, if you notice here, this is a water dragon. So this is a Mondo guy here. My personal favorite, I use lizards all the time. These absolutely crush in Florida. And if you notice here, I got a variety of colors. Got some light colors, got some darker colors, got of course the green pumpkins, watermelon seed, things like that. Then here I got hogs. I got some squid looking things. These things are pretty cool too. Don't use them a whole lot. Then I have my bugs. Okay. So these different kind of bugs that I use, different kind of colors, different presentations of it. Got some blue ones, got a little bit of everything. Then I got some more fluke style kind of stuff. So these things all work, fluke, shads, stuff like that. And of course your standard Senkos. All right. So by putting them all in a box like this, it means that they don't take up nearly as much space. If you notice, I probably have 50 different soft plastics in that one box. That means I have a ton of flexibility in a very small space. Next thing that I'm going to look at, here, let me put these away here. Just give me some space. Next thing that I got here are my jigs. My jigs, I got my hooks, my offset hooks, my 4/0s, my straight shanks. I got a little bit of everything here. I got some tiny little hooks. A lot of times I'll also have some circle hooks in. If I notice the fish are just swallowing everything that I throw out there, I'll throw some circle hooks in there just to get them out a little bit easier. But if you notice, got the weights that I need, all that kind of stuff. And I even got this little guy in there for no good reason other than the fact that I didn't have another spot for him. But I got a variety of colors in here, a variety of styles. I got my weaveless options here with the skirt. I got some heavier guys, little flare on there. So I got a wide variety in here that I can play with. Again, doesn't take up a lot of space. I can do that. Now, I also have a fourth box that I use as well. Now, I don't have that out here right now, but my fourth box is filled with crankbaits. It's going to be filled with frogs, all of that kind of stuff. So this particular trip that I'm going on here, I'm going to be doing a lot of shoreline stuff. I'm going to be doing some small creeks, things of that nature. Probably not doing any cranks. Usually the worms are what work the best out there. And jigs, worms and jigs. That's pretty much what I'm going to be seeing. But if I'm in an area where crankbaits work good, I'm going to bring crankbaits. So it just depends on what I'm going for. Now my crankbait box is loaded up too. I can put 50 crankbaits in a box. A lot of people try to put one per slot. I stack the same kind right on top of each other. All right, so next step you're going to notice is some tweezers. All right, so the reason why I got the tweezers, of course, it makes it really easy to cut my line. It's really compact. Oftentimes, I'm going to throw it right in the middle here, or I'm going to leave it up here, so easily accessible. I also have a knife in here as well. So keep a nice sharp knife. Make sure that that's always on hand just in case I need it. In Florida, sometimes that becomes your self-defense knife because you have some crazy stuff. And then, of course, the obligatory pliers. Actually, I believe that these are a requirement in a lot of states and everything, so you pretty much have to have these to even fish legally. A lot of times you have to have some kind of hook removing tool, and pliers are one of them. So if you are fishing anywhere you fish, you should always have your pliers on you. I believe it is a requirement in the state of Florida. I might be wrong. I'm pretty sure I read that somewhere, but I've always had them on me anyway. So I do recommend it regardless of what kind of fish you're targeting. Yeah, bass, you can unhook them pretty easily, but again, I believe it's a requirement. We want to look that up and everything. If somebody can confirm that for me in the comments, that'd be fantastic. But you should have it on you anyway, so no reason to fight it. Just keep it on you. It doesn't take up a lot of space. All right, so other than that, I mean, that's kind of the main things that you really got to have with you. Of course, food, water, that might be a good idea. Have a plan in place when you go out there. You want to make sure where you're going, make sure that people know where you're going. If you're going to be doing any saltwater fishing at all, I highly recommend that you have a GPS or some type of tracking unit. That's always very helpful. That way, if somebody needs to find you, they can have some kind of a beacon to locate you. There's nothing worse than going out to sea and being lost and all that kind of stuff. So if you have that, that'd be fantastic. Other than that, that's pretty much the main things that you need to get going. Of course, you got to have your fishing rod. If you don't have that, all of this is pointless. But you can, of course, make and add and remove things as you want and everything. But these are some of the basics that I use that I find make me the most successful at fishing. All right. If you guys have any questions or if you need any additional guidance or advice and everything, by all means, drop it in the comments. I'm sure somebody will help you out with it, or I'll definitely make sure that I respond. Otherwise, make sure you guys hit that like button. Also, hit the subscribe button and the bell so that you're notified whenever I do a new video. I'm doing a lot more of these videos, and I'll probably be doing some contests and giveaways soon. So watch out for more videos in the future, and we'll see you soon.